Welcome to Springfield Career Insights. Tonight, we step into the syllabus no school ever issued, the hidden curriculum of adulthood. Life demands emotional intelligence, boundaries, discernment, and the courage to choose the right people. Yet none of this is taught formally. We ask, how does one navigate a world where the most important lessons are unspoken, but the consequences are loud? Joining us is His Excellency Dr. Godfrey Gandawa, President of Springfield Research University, whose work reframes adulthood as a civic journey, not a private improvisation. President, welcome.
Thank you, Doctor. Adulthood is a curriculum of choices. Who you trust, how you respond, and what you tolerate. When people master the hidden syllabus, they stop surviving life and begin governing it.
Thank you, Professor. President, why does adulthood arrive without a syllabus yet demand so much?
Thank you, Doctor. So adulthood arrives without a syllabus because life does not wait for you to be ready. It simply hands you responsibility and expects you to learn while moving. There is no orientation week, no structured timetable, no teacher guiding you step by step. You discover the curriculum by living it. So adulthood demands so much because the stakes are higher. Your decisions carry weight. Your mistakes have consequences. Your choices shape not only your life, but the lives of people who depend on you. There is no rehearsal. Everything counts. So the hidden curriculum of adulthood teaches lessons you cannot learn in the classroom. It teaches you that effort does not always guarantee reward, that good intentions do not replace good decisions, that discipline matters more than talent, that relationships require maturity, not emotion, and that peace is something you must build, not something you stumble into. Adulthood also demands emotional strength. You must manage disappointment without collapsing. You must carry pressure without breaking. You must continue even when you are tired, uncertain, or afraid. No one tests you formally, but life examines you daily. The reason adulthood feels overwhelming is simple. You are both the student and the teacher. You are learning while leading. You are correcting yourself while moving forward. You are building a life with the tools you are still figuring out how to use. But the absence of a syllabus is not a punishment, you see. It is an invitation. It forces you to grow. It forces you to think. It forces you to take responsibility for the person you are becoming. Adulthood demands so much because your future demands so much. And the hidden curriculum is shaping you into someone who can carry that future with strength, clarity, and dignity.
Thank you, Professor. What are the first signs that someone is failing the hidden curriculum of life?
Thank you, Doctor. So the first signs appear quietly, long before a crisis, long before life collapses. They show up in small places where discipline weakens and responsibility becomes optional. The first sign is avoidance. So avoiding difficult conversations. People do that. Avoiding decisions that require courage. People do that. Avoiding responsibilities that demand maturity. People do that. When avoidance becomes a habit, growth stops. The second sign is inconsistency. Starting things you do not finish. They start this today. Tomorrow they leave it there. making promises you do not keep, letting emotions decide your level of effort. So inconsistency is the earliest warning that a person is losing control of their direction. The third sign is emotional impulsiveness, reacting before thinking, speaking before reflecting, choosing based on feelings instead of consequences. Impulsiveness destroys opportunities that discipline could have protected. The fourth sign is poor relationship management, surrounding yourself with chaos, tolerating disrespect, entertaining people who weaken your judgment. When relationships become unstable, the future becomes unstable. The fifth sign is blame, blaming people, blaming circumstances, blaming the past. Blame is the clearest evidence that a person has stopped learning. You cannot grow from what you refuse to own. So the sixth sign is living without reflection. Many people do that. Repeating the same mistakes, ignoring feedback, moving through life without asking, what is this teaching me? A person who does not reflect cannot improve. I always teach people, whoever I talk to, I say, hey, do you do reflective practice? It means turning back the scenario that happened to see where you were wrong, where you were right, where they were wrong, where they were right. And then you correct yourself. So failing the hidden curriculum of life does not happen suddenly. It happens slowly, through small decisions that weaken discipline, through small behaviors that damage the future. But awareness is the turning point, doctor. The moment someone recognizes these signs, they can correct them. Life does not fail you for making mistakes. Life fails you when you refuse to learn.
Thank you, Professor. Why is emotional intelligence more decisive than academic intelligence in adulthood?
Thank you, doctor. So academic intelligence helps you understand the world. Emotional intelligence helps you navigate it. And in adulthood, navigation matters more than information. Emotional intelligence becomes decisive because life is not an exam. There are no model answers. There is no marking scheme. Success depends on how you manage yourself, your relationships, and your reactions. Academic intelligence can open doors, but emotional intelligence determines what happens once you walk through them. Emotionally intelligent people make better decisions. They pursue before reacting. They pause before reacting. They think before speaking. They choose actions that protect their future instead of satisfying their feelings. This discipline shapes careers, relationships, and reputation. Emotionally intelligent people also manage conflict well. They do not escalate small issues into crisis. They do not destroy trust through impulsive behavior. They communicate clearly, even under pressure. This stability makes them reliable partners, colleagues, and leaders. Emotional intelligence also determines how you handle disappointment. Life will not always go your way. You see? Plans will fail. People will change. Opportunities will collapse. Academic intelligence cannot help you here. Emotional intelligence is what keeps you steady, focused, and resilient. And emotional intelligence protects relationships. Most adult problems are relational, you see, not intellectual. People lose jobs because of behavior, not ability. People lose opportunities because of attitude, not knowledge. People lose relationships because of immaturity, not education. Emotional intelligence is the skill that keeps your life intact. It helps you choose the right people. It helps you set boundaries. It helps you avoid chaos. It helps you build a future that is stable, not dramatic. Academic intelligence teaches you how things work. Emotional intelligence teaches you how life works. In adulthood, that difference is everything.
Thank you, Professor. How does one unlearn childhood patterns that no longer serve them?
Thank you, Doctor. So, unlearning childhood patterns begins with one simple truth. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. So, many adults are living with habits, fears, and reactions that were formed long before they had the power to choose differently. So, the first step is awareness. You must recognize the patterns that are holding you back. The way you avoid conflict, the way you fear rejection, the way you overgive to feel valued, the way you shut down to feel safe. Awareness is the doorway to change. And the second step is honesty. You must tell yourself the truth about where these patterns came from. Some were learned from survival. Some were learned from instability. Some were learned from trying to please people who never understood you. Honesty removes shame and replaces it with clarity. You see? And the third step is responsibility. You may not have created these patterns, but as an adult, you are responsible for unlearning them. You cannot keep blaming your childhood for behavior that is damaging your adulthood, you see. Responsibility is the moment you decide, this ends with me. So you feel, I was not raised well. It was not like this. Now you're an adult. Take responsibility and change. The fourth step is replacement now. You cannot unlearn a pattern by simply rejecting it. You must replace it with a healthier one. Replace avoidance with communication. Replace people pleasing with boundaries. Replace emotional shutdown with emotional honesty. Replace impulsiveness with reflection. Replacement is how new habits take root. The fifth step is repetition. Unlearning is not a single decision, you see. It is a daily practice. You will slip, you will fall back into old reactions, but each time you choose differently, the old pattern weakens and the new one strengthens. Repetition rewires your emotional life. The sixth step is environment. You see? You cannot unlearn childhood patterns in relationships that trigger them. You see? There are these people with funny friends. They want to be new, but they continue going back to their old friends with the same habits. You can't unlearn that. You need people who respect your growth, people who do not punish your boundaries, people who do not benefit from your dysfunction. Environment determines whether change survives. Unlearning childhood patterns is not about rejecting your past. It is about refusing to let your past control your future. It is about choosing maturity over memory. It is about building a life that reflects who you are becoming, not who you had been to survive.
Thank you, Professor. How does one navigate family expectations without losing personal sovereignty?
Thank you, Doctor. Yeah. So navigating family expectations without losing personal sovereignty begins with understanding that adulthood requires two loyalties: loyalty to your family and loyalty to your future. And they both matter. But they are not equal, you see. Your future must lead. Your family must support. So family expectations are powerful because they come wrapped in love, culture, and history. But even love can become pressure, you see. Even culture can become a cage. Even history can hold you in a version of yourself you have outgrown. So personal sovereignty means you honor your family, but you do not surrender your life to their fears, their preferences, and their unfinished dreams. You see? The first step is clarity. You must know what you want. You cannot negotiate boundaries around a blurry identity. When you are clear about your direction, it becomes easier to communicate it without guilt. The second step is communication. Families do not read minds. You see? They interpret silence as agreement. You must speak with respect, but also with firmness. Explain your choices. Explain your priorities. Explain the life you are building. Respectful honesty protects both your future and your relationships. And third step is differentiation. So you must separate love from control, support from interference, advice from instruction. Families can guide you, but they cannot govern you. Differentiation allows you to stay connected without being controlled. The fourth step is boundary setting, not as rebellion, but as responsibility. Boundaries protect your emotional space. They protect your time. They protect your decisions. They protect your adulthood from being swallowed by expectations you never agreed to carry. The fifth step is consistency. Families test boundaries unintentionally, not out of malice, but out of habit. You must hold your line gently, but firmly. Consistency teaches people how to treat you. The sixth step is self-trust. You cannot lead your life while doubting your own judgment. You cannot build your future while seeking approval for every step. Self-trust is the anchor that keeps you steady when family opinions become loud. Navigating family expectations is not about choosing between your family and your freedom. It is about choosing a version of adulthood where both can coexist, where you honor where you come from without sacrificing where you are going.
Thank you, Professor. Why do friendships become more strategic and more fragile as we grow older?
Thank you, Doctor. So friendships become more strategic as we grow older because life becomes heavier. Your time is limited. Your energy is limited. Your responsibilities increase. And the people around you begin to influence your future more directly than they did when you were young. So in childhood, friendships are about proximity, In youth, they are about fun. But in adulthood, friendships become about alignment, values, direction, stability, character. The wrong friend can derail your progress. The right friend can strengthen your future. This is why friendships become strategic. You start choosing people who support your growth, people who respect your boundaries, people who bring peace, not chaos, people who add clarity, not confusion. Your circle becomes intentional, not accidental. But friendships also become more fragile, not because people are weaker, but because the cost of the wrong friendship is higher. One friend's recklessness can damage your reputation. One friend's instability can drain your energy. One friend's influence can shift your judgment. So, adulthood forces you to protect your life from unnecessary emotional risk. Friendships become fragile because adults change. Careers change. Priorities change. Families grow. People evolve in different directions. And some friendships cannot survive that distance. Not because of conflict, but because of misalignment. Friendships also become fragile because adults have less tolerance for inconsistency. You no longer have time to repair the same behavior repeated. You no longer have the energy to manage emotional chaos. You no longer have the patience for relationships that drain more than they give. So in adulthood, friendship is not measured by how long you have known someone. That's what you guys do. I've known this one for too long. But they're chaotic. It is measured by how well they fit the life you are building. If they don't fit well, I put boundaries. It is measured by how safe you feel around them. It is measured by how much peace they bring into your world. Friendships become strategic because your future matters. They become fragile because your peace matters. And adulthood teaches you that not everyone can walk with you into every season of your life.
Thank you, Professor. Let's take a break and listen to our gospel song called Fire in the Quiet Places.
The human condition. I've been walking through the silent corners of my soul, where prayers feel small and answers slow to come. Some days the quiet feels heavier than the storm, a stillness that exposes every hidden day. I wondered if you still moved in the places without noise, if your fire could burn even where I felt numb. The turning point, but then your presence settled softly in the silence, a warmth rising where I thought nothing lived. It wasn't loud, but it was holy, a flame awakening the forgotten parts of me. There is fire in the quiet places, a holy spark that grows where no one sees. There is fire in the quiet places, a gentle burn that heals the deepest needs. There is fire in the quiet places, and you are kindling me again. Transformation. You taught me that stillness is not the absence of your power, but the chamber where your glory breathes. You turn my waiting into worship. You turn my silence into kindling me again. The prophetic moment, light me again, Lord. Light me again. Let your flame rise softly through my soul. Light me again. Let your warmth restore what silence stole. Light me again. Until my life becomes a quiet blaze of you. There's fire in the quiet places, a holy spark that grows where no one sees. There is fire in the quiet places, a gentle burn that fills the breeze. There is fire in the quiet places, and you are kindling me again. You are kindling everything in me.
Welcome back. Let's continue with our discussion. What does adulthood demand from us that childhood never prepared us for?
Thank you, Doctor. So adulthood demands realities that childhood never warned us about. It demands strength without applause, decisions without supervision, responsibility without instruction, and resilience without guarantees. Childhood teaches you to wait for direction. Adulthood expects you to create direction. Childhood gives you protection. Adulthood requires you to protect yourself. Childhood offers guidance. Adulthood demands judgment. Adulthood demands emotional discipline. You must manage disappointment without collapsing. You must carry pressure without breaking. You must continue even when you are tired, uncertain, or afraid. No one prepares you for how heavy that becomes. Adulthood demands accountability. You cannot blame your parents. You cannot blame your teachers. You cannot blame your circumstances forever. Your life becomes your responsibility. Your choices, your habits, your relationships, your outcomes. So adulthood demands boundaries. You must say no to protect your peace. You must distance yourself from people who drain your energy. You must choose relationships that strengthen your future. Childhood never taught us that love alone is not enough. Alignment matters. Adulthood demands financial discipline. Bills do not care about your feelings. Deadlines do not wait for your motivation. Opportunities do not reward your intentions. You must plan, save, and prioritize skills many were never taught. Adulthood demands self-awareness. You must confront your patterns. You must unlearn behaviors that once kept you safe, but now hold you back. You must recognize when you are the problem and correct yourself without shame. Adulthood demands endurance, not the endurance of running fast, but the endurance of running long. Consistency becomes more important than excitement. So stability becomes more valuable than intensity. And adulthood demands courage. Yeah, courage. The courage to choose your own path. The courage to disappoint expectations. The courage to start again when life falls apart. The courage to build a future that reflects who you are and not who others want you to be. Childhood prepared us to dream. Adulthood demands that we build. And building requires strength, clarity, and responsibility. Qualities we only develop once life begins to test us, Doctor.
Thank you, Professor. Why do some people remain emotionally adolescent despite growing older?
Thanks, Doctor. So some people grow older, but they do not grow up. And many of them, their age increases, but their emotional capacity remains stuck in an earlier season of life. This happens not because they are weak, but because emotional maturity requires intentional work, and many avoid that work. Emotional adolescence begins with avoidance, avoiding responsibility, avoiding accountability, avoiding difficult conversations, avoiding the discomfort that comes with growth. When avoidance becomes a lifestyle, maturity cannot take root. Some remain emotionally adolescent because they were never taught emotional skills. They learned maths and grammar, but not boundaries, communication, or self-control. They enter adulthood with academic knowledge, but without the tools to manage relationships, conflict, or pressure. Others remain adolescent because childhood wounds were never addressed. They carry unhealed fears into adult relationships. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of failure. And these fears shape their reactions, their decisions, and their behavior. Without healing, they repeat childhood patterns in adult bodies. So emotional adolescence also comes from entitlement, you see. The belief that others must adjust while they remain the same. The belief that emotions justify behavior. The belief that accountability is an attack. If you ask them to be accountable, they think you're attacking them. Entitlement prevents growth because it removes responsibility. Some remain adolescent because they rely on emotional shortcuts. They choose impulsiveness over reflection. They choose comfort over correction. They choose temporal relief over long-term stability. Adulthood requires discipline, doctor, and discipline is uncomfortable. And some remain adolescent because their environment rewards immaturity. Friends who enable recklessness, partners who tolerate inconsistency, families who excuse harmful behavior. When immaturity is never challenged, it becomes permanent. Growing older is automatic. Growing up is intentional. Growing older is automatic. Growing up is intentional. You have to be intentional about it. Emotional maturity requires self-awareness, responsibility, boundaries, and the courage to confront your own patterns. Without this, a person can live many years, but remain emotionally stuck in the same place. Adulthood demands growth, and emotional adolescence is simply the refusal to meet that demand.
Thank you, Professor. What does it mean to govern your life instead of improvising it?
Thank you, Doctor. So to govern your life is to lead it with intention. To improvise your life is to react to whatever happens. One creates direction, the other creates drift. Governing your life means you live by principles, not by impulses. You make decisions based on your values, not moods. You choose your relationships, your habits, and your priorities with clarity. You do not wait for life to push you. You set the course yourself. Improvising your life means you move without a plan. So many people do that. You respond to pressure instead of purpose. You allow circumstance to decide your direction. You live in survival mode, always adjusting, always reacting, always catching up. Governing your life begins with vision. You know the kind of person you want to become. You know the future you are building. You know what strengthens you and what weakens you. Vision becomes the compass that guides your choices. It continues with the structure. You create routine that support your goals. You build habits that protect your peace. You organize your time, your energy, and your commitments. Structure is how you turn intention into progress, doctor. Governing your life also requires boundaries. You say no to what distracts you. You distance yourself from what drains you. You protect your emotional space from people who destabilize your adulthood. Boundaries are the guardrails that keep your life on track, and governing your life requires accountability. You correct yourself, you adjust your behavior, you learn from your mistakes without collapsing into shame. Accountability keeps your growth honest. Improvising your life feels easier in the moment, but it is expensive in the long run. You see, it costs you time, it costs you opportunity, it costs you peace, it costs you the future you could have built with discipline. So, to govern your life is to live with purpose. To govern your life is to lead yourself before life leads you. To govern your life is to build a future that reflects intention, not accident. Adulthood rewards those who govern and punishes those who improvise.
Thank you, Professor. Why do people struggle to say no even when their future depends on it?
Doctor, thank you for the question. So people struggle to say no because no is not just a word. You see, it is a boundary. It is a declaration of self-worth. And for many, that is uncomfortable. The first reason in actual fact is fear of disappointing others. They are thinking, Many adults were raised to prioritize approval, you see, to keep peace, to avoid conflict. So they say yes to protect relationships, even when that yes damages their future. The second reason is fear of rejection. So some believe that saying no will make people leave. So they overgive, overcommit, overextend. They trade their peace for acceptance, hoping to be valued through sacrifice. Third reason is guilty. People feel guilty for choosing themselves, guilty for resting, guilty for protecting their time, guilty for having limits. Guilty makes them believe that boundaries are selfish, when in truth, boundaries are responsible. And the fourth reason is identity. Some people define themselves by how useful they are. If they say no, they fear losing their role, their relevance, or their sense of importance. So they keep saying yes to maintain an identity that is slowly draining them. The fifth reason is habit. If you have spent years saying yes automatically, no feels unnatural. It feels rude. It feels aggressive. But the discomfort is not a sign that the boundary is wrong. It is a sign that the boundary is in you. And the sixth, the reason is lack of self-trust. People doubt their own judgment. They fear making others unhappy. They fear being misunderstood. So they silence their needs to avoid the discomfort of standing firm. But adulthood requires the courage to say no. No to what drains you. No to what distracts you. No to what delays your future. No to what disrespects your boundaries. Saying no is not rejection. It is protection. It is how you guard your time, your energy, your peace, your destiny. And the moment you learn to say no without guilt, doctor, your life becomes clearer, lighter, and more aligned with the future you are trying to build.
Wow, this is amazing. Let's take a commercial break and stay tuned.
At Springfield Research University, we don't teach to pass exams, we encode futures. Grounded in Education 6.0 and powered by STEMA, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, medicine, and automation, we deliver modular, sovereign learning across undergraduate, master's, and doctoral programs. Explore our prospectus, where every curriculum is designed to STEMatize every discipline, dignify local authorship, and credential transformative knowledge. Be STEMatized, be sovereign. Here, knowledge is authored, not borrowed. Curriculum is credentialed, not copied. Every graduate becomes an architect of transformation. With 2 annual intakes, March and September, the path to innovation is always open. From the logic of automation to the soul of indigenous intelligence, SRU is where tomorrow is designed. Springfield isn't just a university, it's an epicenter of epistemic dignity. Join the movement. Study where learning governs itself. Springfield Research University, the globe is here. Where are you?
Welcome back. Let's continue our discussion. How do you identify people who are dangerous to your adulthood?
Thank you, doctor. So people become dangerous to your adulthood not because they are evil, but because their behavior threatens your stability, your growth, and your future. So identifying them early protects your life from unnecessary damage. The first sign is inconsistency. So their words and actions never match. They apologize without changing. They promise without delivering. Inconsistency is the earliest warning that a person cannot be trusted with your peace or your plans. The second sign is emotional chaos. Every interaction drains you. Every conversation becomes a crisis. Every disagreement becomes a battlefield. Chaos is not a personality trait, doctor. It is a pattern that destabilizes your adulthood. The third sign is entitlement. So they expect access without earning it. They expect support without reciprocity. They expect forgiveness without accountability. Entitlement is dangerous because it turns your generosity into obligation. And the fourth sign is disrespect for boundaries. They push past your limits. They guilt trip you for saying no. They treat your time and energy as if they belong to them. A person who cannot respect your boundaries will eventually sabotage your life. And the fifth sign is influence. Pay attention to who you become around them. If you become less disciplined, less focused, less responsible, that person is dangerous to your adulthood. Influence is silent, but its consequences are loud, you see. And the sixth sign is instability. They cannot manage their emotions. They cannot manage their commitments. They cannot manage their relationships. So unstable people create unstable environments, and adulthood cannot grow in instability. The seventh sign is self-centeredness. Everything revolves around their needs, their feelings, their crises. Your life becomes secondary. Your boundary becomes negotiable. Your well-being becomes invisible. Self-centered people drain your adulthood until nothing is left for your own growth. And the final sign is resistance to your growth. They mock your discipline. They resent your progress. They feel threatened by your boundaries. Anyone who fights your growth is dangerous to your future, doctor. People who are dangerous to your adulthood do not always come with warnings. Sometimes they come with charm, sometimes with history, sometimes with love. But adulthood requires you to choose your future over familiarity.
Thank you, Professor. Why is self-awareness the most important qualification for adult life?
Thank you, doctor. So self-awareness is the most important qualification for adult life because you cannot lead a life you do not understand. You cannot correct patterns you cannot see. You cannot build a future while blind to the behaviors that are quietly destroying it. So self-awareness is the foundation of maturity. It tells you who you are, how you think, how you react, and how you affect the people around you. Without it, you move through adulthood to autopilot, repeating the same mistakes, choosing the same relationships, and blaming life for patterns you never examined. So self-awareness protects your decisions. It helps you recognize your triggers. It helps you separate emotion from judgment. It helps you pause before reacting. So adults without self-awareness live in reaction mode. Adults with self-awareness live in intention mode. So self-awareness strengthens your relationships. It helps you communicate clearly. It helps you apologize without collapsing into shame. It helps you set boundaries without guilt. It helps you choose people who align with your values instead of people who feed your wounds. So self-awareness also exposes your blind spots. It shows you where you need discipline. It shows you where you need healing. It shows you where your childhood patterns are still shaping your adult behavior. You see? So this honesty is uncomfortable, but it is the discomfort that leads to growth. So self-awareness protects your future. It stops you from sabotaging opportunities. It stops you from repeating destructive habits. It stops you from blaming others for consequences you created. It forces you to take responsibility for your life without clarity and dignity. And self-awareness builds emotional stability. When you understand yourself, you are harder to manipulate, harder to provoke, harder to derail. You become grounded, measured, and consistent, qualities adulthood wants. So self-awareness is not perfection. It is honesty. It is the courage to look at yourself without fear. It is the discipline to adjust what needs to change. It is the wisdom to understand that your life will only grow at the speed of your self-knowledge. In adulthood, talent helps, doctor. Education helps. Opportunity helps. But without self-awareness, all of them collapse under the weight of unexamined behavior. So self-awareness is the qualification that holds every other qualification together.
Thank you, Professor. How does one build a life that is emotionally, financially, and relationally sustainable?
Thank you, Doctor. So a sustainable life is not built through intensity. It is built through balance, clear priorities, disciplined habits, and relationships that support your future instead of draining it. Emotional sustainability begins with self-awareness. You must know your limits. You must know your triggers. You must know what strengthens your peace and what destroys it. So emotional sustainability requires boundaries, rest, and the courage to walk away from environments that damage your stability. It also requires emotional discipline. You cannot react to everything. You cannot carry everyone's burdens. You see, you cannot allow temporary feelings to create permanent consequences. So emotional sustainability is the ability to stay steady even when life becomes unpredictable. Financial sustainability begins with responsibility. You must live within your means. You must plan, save, and prioritize. You must separate needs from impulses. Financial sustainability is not about wealthy. It is about control. Control over your spending, your commitments, and your long-term goals. It also requires consistency. Small, disciplined decisions repeated over time create stability. So a budget is not punishment. It is protection. Savings are not luxury, they are security. So financial sustainability is the foundation that supports every other part of your adulthood. Relational sustainability begins with alignment. You must choose people who respect your boundaries, people who communicate with honesty, people who do not drain your energy or destabilize your emotions. Your relationships must match the life you are becoming or building, not the life you are escaping. It also requires reciprocity. Healthy relationships are mutual. Mutual effort, mutual respect, mutual accountability. Relational sustainability collapses when one person carries all the emotional weight. A sustainable life is built through integration. Your emotions, your finances, and your relationships must support each other, not compete with each other. You cannot have emotional peace in financial chaos. You cannot have financial progress in relational instability. You cannot have relational health without emotional maturity. Sustainability is not perfection, doctor. It is alignment. It is the discipline to build a life that does not collapse under pressure. A life that is steady, intentional, and strong enough to carry your future.
Thank you, Professor. Finally, President, what is the one lesson adulthood teaches too late but must be learned early?
Thank you, Dr. H. So the one lesson adulthood teaches too late is this. Your life is shaped more by your decisions than your intentions. Not by what you hoped to do, not by what you planned to do, but by what you consistently chose to do. So adulthood reveals that intentions do not build a future. Discipline does. Boundaries do. Habits do. The small choices you repeat every day quietly determine the quality of your life. This lesson arrives late because childhood rewards effort, not outcomes. You are praised for trying. You are protected from consequences. You are guided through mistakes. But adulthood removes that cushion. It demands results, not wishes. Adulthood teaches that your decisions carry weight. The people you choose, the habits you form, the emotions you entertain, the boundaries you set or fail to set. Each decision becomes a brick in the structure of your future. It teaches that consistency is more powerful than talent. That discipline is more valuable than motivation. That self-control is more important than intelligence. And that your life will always move in the direction of your what? Of your daily choices. It teaches that no one is coming, doctor, no one is coming to rescue you. Not your family, not friends, not society. Your progress depends on your willingness to take responsibility for your own path. It teaches that time is not generous. You cannot waste years and expect life to pause for you. You cannot delay growth and expect opportunities to wait. Time rewards those who act early and punishes those who postpone maturity. And adulthood teaches that your future is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet decisions. The decision to wake up early, the decision to save instead of spend, the decision to walk away from chaos, the decision to choose peace over drama, the decision to grow even when it is uncomfortable. The lesson adulthood teaches too late, doctor, but must be learned early, is that your decisions are the architects of your destiny. If you master your decisions, you master your life. Thank you, Doctor, for having me.
Thank you, President, for unveiling adulthood as a curriculum of choices, where boundaries, discernment, and emotional intelligence become the real qualifications for survival and elevation. Your insights remind us that the unspoken rules of life are often the most decisive. To our audience, if you're ready to master the hidden syllabus of adulthood and govern your life with clarity, Springfield Research University stands ready to guide your journey. Visit www.springfieldresearchuniversity.net and step into your future shaped by wisdom, not improvisation. This concludes tonight's reflective edition of Springfield Career Insights. May your adulthood be governed with foresight, dignity, and sovereign self-awareness. I am Clarence, your host. Good night.
Siyakupuga tikitile futsanza lunga kiwa hey 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 siyakupuga sonke siyavumelana ngemjululo muhle sonke simi